Hello, my name is Jared Mosley. This is the Philosopher's Stone channel, and I just wanted to make this video about how to pass the bar exam in 2021 and beyond. There's not too many black men I see who talk about how to pass the California bar exam, and I just wanted to switch it up, give some really good tips on how to pass the exam as, even though they've lowered the exam score that you need to pass to 1390 from 1440. It doesn't mean that, the test is way easier now. You can still fail the test, and plenty of people still do fail the test. So I'm going to give you some tips. Just a little background about myself so that you can know that I know what I'm talking about. I'm a second year attorney. I'm just going into my second year as an attorney. I passed the bar exam back in July of 2019. That was still when it was 1440. I took the exam 4 times. It took me 4 times to pass, but each time that I took it, I was very, very close to passing when I didn't pass. So it's not like I wasn't even close to passing. Like I know how to take the exam. I know how the examiners try and trick you up. So what I'm here to talk to you about is more a logistical standpoint on how to pass the exam. It's not substantive necessarily. There's some substantive tips in here, but most of it is going to be more logistics. So without further ado, let's get right into it because I don't want to waste no time. So number one, you need to know your strengths and weaknesses going into the test. Number one, know, again, your strengths and weaknesses. Everybody who goes into the bar exam, especially the first time, they're going to have subjects they're good at, they know really well. They're going to have subjects they don't know too well. And you need to know that before you start studying. You need to know what you need to spend a majority on your time on and what you need to not waste your time on. And what you need to do is you need to start out with the stuff that you're not too great at, because it's going to take more time for you to really grasp material, be able to apply the material and get to a level where you're comfortable with it. Because if you go into the bar exam, you're not comfortable with it, you might pass. Who knows? But most likely you probably won't. So you need to put all the work into getting your weaknesses to become your strengths. And you need to know what your weaknesses are, because some people, they like to lull themselves into believing, oh, I'm good, I have no weaknesses. And that's a lie. We all have weaknesses. We're all good at stuff. We're all bad at certain things. So you need to find out exactly what topics you're strong in. And even within that, within the subjects, the subjects within the subjects. So say you have constitutional law and you have free speech. You're not too good at free speech, but you're great with the First Amendment in other ways instead of free speech. You're good with maybe the 14th Amendment, or you're good with the 15th Amendment. You need to be good at everything. You need to do everything you can to get everything ironed out before the exam, because I'm telling you, you don't want to go into the exam worried. Am I going to pass? Am I not going to pass? You want to be confident. Number two, you need to study all the subjects. That kind of bleeds in from my first one. You need to, obviously, the first 7 subjects that are on the MBE portion of the exam, you have to get those down. It's not a choice. You can't be like, oh, yeah, I kind of, no. You need to be strong in all those 7 subjects: contracts, torts, criminal law, Con-Crim Pro. All the 7 subjects on the MBE, if you are not strong in those subjects, I don't see how you pass the exam. So you just have to understand the way this test is administered, that you get points in certain subjects and certain topics and certain parts of the test. Number one part that you get the most points on, well, actually, there's 2. The MBE and the performance test. So if you focus on those 2 portions of the test, you're going to be in really good shape. Going into the next one, you need to come up with a schedule that maximizes your study time. Now, this one is one of those ones where you really need to think about it, because everybody has a different schedule, right? So you may be working going into the exam. So if you're working, then hopefully you're not working full time. But if you're working full time, then you got to know that you're not going to have much energy when you get home. So either you're going to study in the morning, or you're probably going to study later at night. I can tell you right now, if you study late at night, that's going to be good for you, just because a lot of what we memorize or learn right before we go to sleep, we internalize, and it's a lot easier to memorize that material. Also in the morning, if you go for a run, it's going to really help you out, because your mind's going to be clear. And empirical research has shown that when you go out and exercise, with cardiovascular exercises, it increases the function of your hippocampus, which is directly responsible for memory, critical thinking, and other things that you're going to need in order to pass the bar exam. So what you need to do is you need to focus on that as well. Number 4, you need to, and this is, if you have the time to do it. If you don't have the time to do it, don't do it. But if you have the time to do it, you need to read your outlines, the long outlines first. Okay. I know they're long, especially if you're with Barbary, because Barbary, I know they have like these 130, 150 page outlines. And I understand it. That's long. It's going to take a long time to read. So if you don't have time to read it, don't read it. Don't read it if you don't have time. But if you do read it, because there's going to be so many small little nuggets of gold that's going to help you directly in the MBE, because the MBE is going to test you on specific subjects and topics within those subjects. And if you do not know, I repeat, if you do not know these topics very well, you're probably not going to pass the MBE. So you need to get that down. Now, it's a difference between learning the subject and memorizing the subject. So say that you feel like you've learned the subject pretty well already. You don't need to read the outline. That's fine. But you do need to memorize a lot of the outlines, or at least a lot of the material in the outline. So what you need to do is, for the memorization, you need to go over the smaller outlines. Go over the smaller outlines. That'll help you to memorize it, because it's going to be a lot easier to memorize something that's 10 to 20 to 30 pages than something that's 120, 130 pages. We're only human. So you got to focus on what you can do, because, we're not all geniuses out there. And some people, they're not going to get it the first time. They're not going to get this the first time, that the first time. If you got to read it over again, read it over again. But you need to get the material down. Number 5, take as many questions, MBE questions and essays as possible, man. Straight up. If I had a magic number for what would get you to where you need to be with the MBE, I say maybe around 3,000. 3,000 questions should get you close. Might not get you there, but it gets you close. But honestly, I mean, most people, you should try and go above and beyond, and hold your own standards. But 3,000 is a good number. I think if you get 3,000, then you should pass, because you have tried and done so many questions. But don't just try and do a whole bunch of questions. You need to take the right questions. The way that I would advise you to go about it is, especially if you have Adaptabar, because Adaptabar is really good. What you should do if you have Adaptabar is find out where your subjects, what subjects you're weak at within a subject. So, for instance, contracts, you're not good at the parole evidence rule. You need to take a lot of questions on the parole evidence rule. And don't just take the questions, study the material, try and memorize it, and then take the questions, because that's a waste of time if you're just taking questions. You need to get the material down, because at the end of the day, this is applying the knowledge you've already gained. So you need to get that knowledge down, get it solidified, and then take those questions. Essays, I would say it's a little bit different. I don't think you need to take as many questions, but everybody is different. But take as many essay questions as you can. The reason why I say maybe you shouldn't spend as much time on that is because you really don't know what you're going to get tested on when it comes to the essays. It's a crapshoot. So don't spend too much time studying for the essays, but you do need to study for that. When it comes to the performance test, you need to put in a lot of time on the performance test. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm a great writer and all this, that, and the third. It doesn't matter if you're a good writer. You need to be a good writer for the exam. So what you need to do is you need to look into the MBE, the performance test portion, and you need to put a lot of work into practicing so that once the MBE is there, you knock it out like it's nothing. Because what a lot of people will realize is when you take the test, the second portion of the essay day, you usually will run out of time. Straight up, you're gonna run out of time. So if you're gonna run out of time, then you need to allocate your time wisely. What I did, and I'm not telling you to do this, but this is what I did. I did the performance test first, and then I did the other essays. Why? Because the MBE is worth more than all of those essays. So I'm gonna go where the points are. And that's what you should do too. If you're focused on getting the points, you need to focus on where you get the most points. The most points out of all those, the essays in the MBE or performance test, MBE and the essays is going to be the MBE, and it's going to be the performance test. And it's not even really that close. That's a big portion. So you need to get those parts down solid as possible. Okay. Now the next couple ones I'm going to go over, these are, again, is more logistical, less substantive. Number 1, you need to eat and sleep well. If you're not getting your requisite sleep, then how can you have the energy to even study? Because this is really hard work. You're going to have to study maybe 8 to 10 hours a day. It's like a job. You're not going to go to your job tired. And some people do. That's why you're really bad at your job and you get fired or you never get the raise that you want because you don't have the energy to put in the work, or you're lazy. I don't know. I'm not you, but I can tell you this. If you put the work in and you have the energy to put the work in, the results usually come. And if they don't come, you're probably doing something wrong in terms of your game plan or whatever you're doing. So you need to focus on how you're studying for this in terms of how you're taking care of yourself. The other thing within that number question tip that I'm giving you, number 6, is you need to eat well. And what that means is don't eat heavy. All right. You got to think about this. If you eat heavy, what happens? You get tired. Why do you get tired? Because your body has to break the food down. So if you're eating a big steak and then you try and go study, you're going to fall asleep. Most people are going to fall asleep, and that's okay. It's totally understandable because your body is breaking down that food. But if you eat brain food or you eat nutrient-rich foods that don't require your body to break it down so much, then you're going to have a lot more energy throughout the day. You're not going to get tired as much, and your brain is going to be sharper. And that's what you want. You don't want to be eating cheeseburgers and then trying to study. That's not going to work, man. You got to really think about this. And anybody with a common sense will see that if you're eating heavy foods, you're not going to have the energy to study. So trust me, some of the foods that I would advise you to eat in terms of nutrient-rich foods that'll give you a lot of energy and a lot of brain power is blueberries. I swear by blueberries. I love blueberries. They're great for you. They get rid of toxins in your body, they're antioxidants, and they are very good with brain power. It's very good for your brain. And I'm telling you, I would get tired. I would get weak in terms of how my mind would feel. I would feel weak, and then I would eat some blueberries and I would feel amazing after. It's not going to get you to the point where you're ready to go and you're blaring at all cylinders are raring, but it's going to give you a boost. And if you really are that tired, just take a nap and then get back to it. Sleep and food is what keeps you alive and keeps you pumping as a human being. So why would it not be part of the equation of how you pass this exam? Next one I'm going to go into is exercise. Okay, you guys need to exercise. Even if you don't normally exercise, I would advise you to exercise because, as I said earlier in the video, aerobic exercise is completely tied in with your hippocampus working better in your brain. And again, the hippocampus is responsible for critical thinking and memory, as well as other brain functions that are extremely important for this exam. You got to think about it. If you are not exercising and just laying around and studying over and over and over, don't you think you're gonna go crazy? Don't you think you might want to do something? You're gonna have a little bit of pent up physical energy in you because you're using your brain so much. Your body is probably feeling restless. And if you're feeling that way, you're obviously not exercising enough. You need to run, you need to lift, you need to do whatever you can to get that stress out, because it's also a stress reliever, and it's a positive stress reliever. A lot of people that go into stress relievers that are negative for them, drinking and smoking and all kinds of sex, all that stuff, that's not positive for you when you're studying for the exam. Some of you guys are saying, what, sex? Yes, sex too. Because if you got to use a lot of energy for sex, okay? Especially for the fellas, because you're actually, without getting into too much detail, you're actually physically exerting yourself during sex a lot more than a woman normally would. So if that's the case, you're having to spend all this energy that you could be using on the bar exam. Why not have sex for 2 months to change your whole life, instead of having sex during those 2 months and keeping your life the same? You got to make sacrifices. And sex, honestly, I mean, come on, guys. If you're a grown man or a grown adult woman, then you should be able to forego sex for at least a month or two. Because, I mean, this is groundbreaking, life-changing stuff. When you become an attorney, it changes your life. You're able to do things that you weren't able to do before, and it opens doors that money can't buy. And I don't know about you, but personally, as a black man, I think that's priceless for me because, I'm living in America, and let's just be honest, you guys, I don't know about you guys, but America in general does not view me the same way that they view other people. So, I'm part of what I'm doing is I'm changing the perception, but I'm also living it. Okay. Next, you need to work on your general lawyering skills. Again, let me say that one more time. You need to work on your general lawyering skills. What are your general lawyering skills? Your reading, your reading comprehension, your writing skills, your critical thinking. These things are your bread and butter when it comes to being an attorney, because even when you work on these things, as an attorney, you're going to keep using them. So it's not like, oh, I'm working on this just so I can pass this test and I'll never need it again. No, you're going to need it in the future, those skills. So you need to try and become a faster reader. You need to become a better writer. You need to have better critical thinking. You need to really read and comprehend what you're reading at a fast pace, because this is a time exam. Now, if you had all day to take the exam, I say, oh, take your time, don't worry about it. But no, you have a time constraint. So you need to put all the time you can into working yourself into a position to be able to work quickly and still be able to retain information and, move quickly, because again, this is a time exam. And then, the number 9, you need to push yourself to the next level. What do I mean by that? Well, listen, this is the cold hard truth. If you don't push yourself and then you fail, you're going to hate yourself, because you're going to be like, man, I could have put that extra work in. I could have put that extra work in and I would have passed the exam. Don't be that person. Okay? Be the person that pushed themselves to the point where they were like, man, it's impossible for me to not pass this test. It's impossible for me to not pass it. How could I not pass this test? That's how you want to feel when you're leaving the exam. Okay? Because I'm telling you, man, you don't want to regret that. I've had a couple times when I took the exam, I probably could have put more work in before I took the exam. I hate to say it, but it's true. And because I didn't pass. And that's just what it is. You got to take that as a nail and move on. Okay? Next, and last but not least, is don't panic. All right? Don't panic. Like they say, shit happens. Pardon my French, but shit happens, and things happen. Okay? I'll give you a quick story. When I took the bar exam, the time that I passed, I went to Denny's before I went to the Ontario Convention Center. That's where I took the exam in California. And again, the California bar exam is the hardest bar exam in the entire nation. So, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and I hadn't passed already. So, I was thinking about a lot of things. I'm not a panicker at all. But I'm gonna tell you like this. I went to Denny's, I ate, and I threw up damn near all my breakfast because I had, nerves taking the exam. But I didn't let that deter me. I just focused on the mission at hand. What I did was I threw that up. I cleaned myself off, and then I went over to the exam facility, and I took the exam and I passed. Okay, so just because some things happen, just because not everything is working out in your favor, that's life. Things don't always go according to plan. So you need to be prepared for if things don't go according to plan. When I took the bar exam and passed, also another thing that happened was 2 days before the exam, they released the essays. Or the essay topics, not the actual essays, but the essay topics. And people went crazy. People was panicking, all this other stuff. Listen, I didn't panic. I actually looked at it as an advantage. I was like, okay, look, you guys want to release the essay topics? Cool. Now I'm going to look at those topics, and I'm going to look and see how many scenarios in terms of what topics they're going to go within those topics. How many scenarios are there of what they could test? And I was prepared because I did that. Because I didn't panic. I used everything to my advantage. So that's the saying. Don't panic. Use it to your advantage. Okay? The whole thing here is you guys got to sacrifice. You got to work hard, and you got to do what you got to do in order to get to a level where you know that you're ready to pass this exam. And nobody's going to do it for you. You're an adult. You're either a man, you're a woman, but you got to this point, So don't just get to this point to just get to this point. You need to put in the work. All right. If I could do it, you can do it. And honestly, I've been through a lot within that time frame of when I tried to take those exams and pass. But I didn't give up. And that's my last tip for you guys. Do not give up. I have friends who took the exam 2 times and that was it. They gave up. And if that was me, if I took it 2 times and gave up, I wouldn't be an attorney right now, would I? So you need to not give up. You need to be tenacious. You need to fight for what you want. That's how you get what you want in this world. You fight for what you want. You fight for the things, the people you love, right? So if you love, I don't know, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, you'll do things for them, right? So if you love this profession or you really want to be an attorney, you'll do what you need to do to become an attorney. So, I'm going to let you guys go. This is Philosopher's Stone channel. This is Jared Mosley. I just wanted to touch you guys with this message and encourage you guys going into this bar exam, and even not just this exam in July of 2021, but in the future, because I feel like this topic and this advice can go on and on and on, because the bar exam is always going to be the bar exam. They're always going to test the same types of things, the same types of ways. Nothing is new under the sun. So you got to understand that anything is possible as long as you put the work in, you grind, and you do what you need to do to get to where you got to go. Okay. So peace, love, and blessings to all of you guys, and good luck on this bar exam. I'm out.